Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. And as always, I hope that you enjoy. Story number 1. Ambushed, written by Warpmind. The thaw was running. The whole invasion plan had gone up in someone's cloaca and burst like an overripe fruit. Damn High Command for deciding these humans looked like a soft, easy target. The Empire of Sol, looking decadent and politically fractured, apparently only needed an outside enemy to unify, to all together, to strike as one against an alien assailant. Zartha was cursing the old gods and the politicians of new. He blamed them equally for dumping him in this mess. The first strike fleet had come as a surprise, so High Command had declared. Bloody humans hadn't agreed with the bat bit. Apparently, they had excellent early warning systems in place, and seemed to know ahead of time where the valorous Mizana fleet would land its troops to take over the human homeworld. Zarthot's platoon had set foot somewhere in this human's home called Arizona. And just as the last soldier set foot on Earth, everything started to explode for no apparent reason. It took 2 local days before the survivors received a data update with some local rules of engagement. Things that seemed mostly strange to Zartha. Restrictions on interactions with civilians. Restrictions on web. Restrictions on this. Restrictions on that. And then there was the thing that grew more interesting by the minute. Restrictions on what one could do with POWs, and requirements to provide medical care and shelter. Apparently the humans had codified most of these a few hundred years ago, and decided to keep them to avoid repeating old mistakes. Zartha didn't mind following these new rules if that meant captivity would not lead to torture and a slow, agonizing death for someone's entertainment. Zartha barked a few commands to Zahar on the Mahan, his 2 remaining squad mates, as they pushed into the abandoned house with a nice lawn. Seemed this area was recently abandoned. The humans were quick to evacuate the lower density settlements. It was quiet. No radio chatter, no sound of gunfire. Nothing. If not for the fact that Zarthar's entire platoon was almost obliterated, he could have been comfortable here. He took his helmet off and laid down on a strange chair, seemingly designed to fit multiple people. Just as Zahar yelled at the adjacent room, "Sir, great news! Come and see! There's food here!" Zahar groaned softly, with fatigue settling in, then got up and launched towards where the shot came from. "Oh God, I'm ravenous! What do you have?" Zahar, the lovable idiot he was, grinned and set the large cookpot of some kind down on the table. "It's some kind of stew. It's still hot." Zahar looked at the cookpot, then Zahar, then looked around the Mashan. "This area was supposed to have been long abandoned. If this is still hot, then, someone..." Zahar heard Mashan yelp in surprise upstairs, and then there was a loud explosion as his eyes saw pure white. And his ears started ringing, and then everything faded to black. Zartha hissed in discomfort, feeling cold, wind on his skin, and a strange wooden surface moving under him. Slowly, cracking open an eye, he saw a yellow-haired human with strange clothes sitting facing him on some open-topped vehicle. The human turned to face him and began to speak in a strange accent. "Hey, you finally awake, You were trying to cross the border, right? Walked right into that Imperial ambush. Same as us, and that deep over there." End of story. Story number 2. You were born in a village with a shrine and a legend. The shrine has 4 large stones standing in a square with 2 in the middle that represent fire, earth, wind, water, light, and darkness. There is a legend that says a hero of old was able to see the glow of all 4 of them. You awaken to see all 6. Written by Perilous Platypus. I awoke in the pre-dawn. There was my favorite time, when the village was still at rest, and I was free to be as I wished. I made my way from bed to hearth, careful not to stir the slumbering bodies of my family. In spite of my best efforts, all was not still, as a clan of 8 tended to be prone to ruckus even at rest. Above the rustling of my brothers and sisters, a snore rang out, ruinous in its noise but unacceptable, and it was expected. Bar slept like a hibernating bear and growled just the same. A grin spread, marveling at those who made my life rich. It was for them I worked. Pulling a scuffed bag from its hooks beside the door, I pried open the door, wincing at the squeaking hinge. The bear behind me snorted once, grumbled, and then returned to his rest. I suppressed a chuckle and stepped out into the cool of early morning. The hills beyond our village glowed a dull orange, a harbinger of the day to come and the indication that I best be on my way. My stride slowly lengthened as my legs limbered, the soreness of the days prior slowly fading as I walked the winding paths leading down the slope and into town. I had been apprenticed to a townsmith earlier this summer and had taken the work in earnest, finding satisfaction in assisting in the shaping of metal to the will of my master. With luck, it would be my turn at the hammer soon enough, and perhaps even a small commission work like a set of horseshoes so that I could begin to bring a wage back to my family. I turned a corner, passing between the 2 multi-storied plaster buildings that rimmed the town square. They belonged to the families of means, their place of prominence marked of both of the intricacy of their homes as well as the proximity to the world stones. The enormous monuments always hung in my mind, playing at the fringes of my consciousness even while my focus was elsewhere. They were a mystery. None could say from where they had come, none could fathom how they had been created. All of the town had were myths and legends. Some spoke of a power of world stones, some spoke of the heroes that could connect to them. One story rose above them all, eventually becoming the heart of any tale that touched on the behemoths residing in the town square. The Elementalist. She could touch her 4 corners, earth, wind, fire, and water. The town had been founded upon her legend, the extension of her grace, and it had taken a derivation of a title in her honor. Her legend in elementalist blood, and the town crest bore the brown, white, red, and blue of the 4 elements. A single figure standing at the center at the intersection of the 4 quadrants. The square would be alive and bustling soon enough as the seekers from the world over would come in hopes of finding a connection to the world stones, and with them the coin that allowed the town to prosper. I smiled, eager to see the stones. In all of my life, in all of my life of my father and his father's father, and so on extending back 6 generations, none had connected the stones. Not a single one of them, much less a feat of the 4 corners of the Elementalist had accomplished. I continued to hope for it, though I wondered what such an event might portend for the town. The tales of the world stone warned of their power in the same breath as it spoke of their majesty. My feet treaded along the wet cobblestones, the thick soles of my leather boots gripping onto the slick surface. Ahead of the narrow street opened up to the square beyond. I would need to cross amongst the square between the world stones to the streets beyond where the smith master Dakin maintained his shop. My pace quickened, eager to be at my destination and prepare for the day ahead. Master Dakin would already be rummaging about. I stepped into the square and stopped. A dull glow reflected against the mist that hung in the square, creating a strange prism of light. I blinked, my brain not quite connecting with what my eyes were seeing. My heart thudded in my chest, sending my pulse racing and throbbing at my temples. Brown, white, red, blue. I could see them, the 4 corners, not like before. They weren't stern and cold. They glowed. I could see them. More than that, I could feel them. Feel them beckoning me, calling, whispering, earth, wind, fire, water. My mouth went dry as two new colors appeared, gold and black. The two spires at the center of the four corners glowed too, life and death. Impossible. Someone was playing a trick, I tried to convince myself, just as I became increasingly certain that it was no prank. The lights might be explained away, but the connection could not. The willed stones reached for me, pulling me inwards, claiming me as theirs, imprinting themselves upon me. I felt a great reservoir unlocked in me, unfurling and expanding outwards like a mighty sail gathering all of the wind of the storm within it. Power. I did not understand, did not know what it meant, but I could sense it was just the same as I could sense the strength of my muscles honed beside Master Daked's forge. The Willstones had chosen me. Why? End of story. Just a quick shout out to the T5 peeps. Bob the Dragon, Cat Crab Lobster, Data Magnet, Dark Machine, Bezic, Try Again 95, Pudic Yol, Astrea the Dreamer, Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Athelia, Meridian 117, and Jordan Bucksmorm. Thank you very much. And that, my friends, concludes this video. I hope that you enjoyed. There are links down below, both to support this channel and for the author of this fiction. Anyways, I hope you all have a fantastic one, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.